Welcome back to Dateline on ID. Here again is Dennis Murphy.
Police were convinced the missing hiker Meredith Emerson was under the control of Gary Hilton somewhere in North Georgia. The more they learned about the survivalist oddball, who was a person of interest in 2 murders in national forests elsewhere, the more they feared for her. A friend of Meredith's family appealed directly to Hilton.
I hope that if he realized that this would be helpful, that his heart would be softened and turned to coming forward with information. So please have the courage to come forward. We need you.
Their next lead, the big one, came from an unlikely source, the suspect himself. 3 days into Meredith's disappearance, Gary Hilton called his old boss, Tabor.
I answered my cell phone and I heard his voice. Couldn't believe it. He pretended and acted as though nothing was wrong.
So he didn't let on to you that he was the subject of a manhunt?
No, absolutely not. He acted as though he knew nothing about it, which apparently was the case. He apparently had no idea. He apologized at length for his past behavior and on the terms of which he left. He said that he was ill and that now he felt better and he realized the errors of his ways and he was ready to get back to work.
Startled but thinking fast, Tabor tried to lure Hilton to an agreed-upon location with a promise of money.
I was trying to play it cool as though I didn't know anything about what was going on. I told him that I would give him a check for $800 and we discussed a place to leave the check.
Were you baiting that place that he knew to come and show up?
Well, it was certainly my objective to get him to a place where authorities could apprehend him.
The trap was set at a building owned by Tabor where Hilton had lived for a while. The SWAT team was dispatched. Would Hilton fall for the pick up some money ruse? And what about the missing woman?
In your gut, did you think Meredith was still alive?
You know, Meredith's name was Meredith Hope Emerson, and we all hoped that she was alive. But, you know, the longer these things carry on, as time passes, you continue to hope, but it diminishes after time.
As the manhunt continued, there was a glimmer of hope. Friday morning, 4 days after Meredith vanished, the U.S. Marshals Service traced activity on Meredith's bank cards.
The card was used at a local bank, 15 miles from the abduction site, and then again 50 miles south of the abduction site, and then the next day 80 miles. These were attempts where no money was taken.
Which suggests what?
It suggested that Meredith wouldn't give him the right pin.
Which also suggests maybe she's still alive.
That's right.
Investigators, meanwhile, had been able to trace the phone Gary Hilton used earlier to call his old boss, John Tabor, who'd set that trap for him. That call was made from a restaurant about 50 miles from Blood Mountain. Hilton, it seemed, was moving south towards Atlanta. Metro PD SWAT concealed themselves in and near Tabor's building. That was the drop point where his old boss had promised Hilton he'd leave him $800.
You stake out the location, you're surveilling it, and?
He didn't show.
No show.
No show. We're still looking and wondering where could this guy be. Now we have him 50 miles from Blood Mountain.
The veteran agent working his last GBI case before retirement was talking constantly, meanwhile, with Meredith's parents, her father, Dave Emerson.
I appeal to everyone to search their hearts and memories for anything they can remember and do to help us find Meredith.
After I met the Emersons, I knew that I had to tell them everything. I couldn't hold back any information from these two people. They were terrified.
Why did you take it personally?
This case was a little bit different because not only me, but the other investigators recognized the fact early on that we have to embrace this family and tell them everything, even though what we were telling them was not good news.
Hilton, Meredith, her lab Ella. The tip line kept ringing with leads good and bad. Then 4 days in, a Friday afternoon, a shopper called to say that she'd found a black lab mix wandering around a supermarket parking lot.
I was surprised to see any dog running loose in the parking lot, and then to find out that it's the one that Meredith was her dog was, a pretty big surprise and a shock.
She took the dog to an animal clinic where the vet was able to read an identity chip implanted in her. Sure enough, it was Ella. But where was her owner, Meredith? Now events were moving quickly. Right away came another tip.
We get a call from a female acquaintance of Hilton stating that she had just hung up the phone. He had called her and wanted money. And she commented that she said, "Don't you know the world's looking for you?" And he hung up.
Hilton called from a payphone at a convenience store near where Meredith's dog had turned up.
You have a living pet, a missing owner, and a phone which is somewhere in the vicinity of this guy you believe is her abductor.
While the agents are searching in an area of the convenience store, they look in a dumpster. And it was in the dumpster we found Meredith's identification, her purse, bags of bloody clothing. And at that point we felt like that this was not going to turn out as we had hoped.
The purse, 3 bloody fleece tops. Agent Cagle and his boss gave Meredith's parents the grim update. Then, around 8 that night, still Friday, not far from where Tabor had set the trap for Hilton, more than one eagle-eyed citizen noticed a man emptying a white van.
At the gas station up here, there's a white van and a red dog wandering around.
Calls lit up 911. This one lasted for 12 minutes.
Okay, 911, what's the exact location? I have the person of interest in that missing woman case is at this Chevron gas station on Ashford Dunwoody. The van is there? The van is here. The dog is here, the red dog, and I saw the man's face, and I've been watching the news, and I know it's him. I know it's him. He's emptying all this stuff out of his van. He's looking around like he is as guilty as sin. I can go take him down if you want.
No, sir. Stay right there.
Here comes the cops.
Yes. Police are there?
So they got him now. Here, 2 cruisers pulled up on him. 2 of the cabs trying to.
Gary Hilton was under arrest. Detectives swarmed over the filthy Astro van and inventoried his possessions, looking for any clue to Meredith's fate. A GBI spokesman updated the media.
It's a missing persons investigation right now, and that's how we're pursuing it. The important key might be any knowledge that Mr. Hilton has.
Take me inside your Situation Room when you get the news that Atlanta's got him.
We're very pleased with the fact that now we have this man, but we can't lose sight of the fact we don't have Meredith yet, and the possibility that she could be alive, and we just can't let up. And so we attempt to interview him. He refuses.
No statements. I'm waiving no rights. I want an attorney appointed to represent me. I want to speak with that attorney, and I want that attorney present during questioning.
Cops had their man, but not Meredith. Could they crack him, get from him the story of what had happened in the National Forest?
Coming up.
In your decades of law enforcement agent, have you ever had a session of interviews like this one?
No. He was very straightforward, and it was very nonchalant.
When mystery on Blood Mountain continues.